You're green.
I am.
New footage from Wicked for Good gives us a first look at fresh looks for Cynthia Erivo's Elphaba and Ariana Grande's Glinda, but be warned, spoilers ahead. As of now, Universal Pictures' Wicked has earned $451.3 million in the US and Canada and $230 million internationally, bringing its global total to $681.4 million on a $150 million budget. Wicked has now become the highest-grossing Broadway adaptation of all time. The good news? Since the sequel was filmed back-to-back with the first part, we won't have to wait too long before Wicked for Good hits theaters. The Wicked sequel is likely going to be an even bigger success, and we won't be surprised if Universal Pictures is already planning spin-offs and expansions. However, the studio did take a bit of a hit by releasing Wicked on digital so soon. That said, a first look at the Wicked sequel has made its way online thanks to special features included in the digital version of the movie. Cynthia Erivo's Elphaba and Ariana Grande's Glinda have both been aged up since we last saw them and are sporting fresh new looks. Both leads are also hinting at the development of their characters, with Cynthia Erivo expressing her excitement to dive into Elphaba's darker side. The story takes a time jump sticking to the Broadway version, and for those familiar with it, things are about to get wild. Last year, filmmaker Jon M was asked about the possibility of Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz playing a big role in Wicked for Good. He said, "In the show, Dorothy is around. They have to intersect, and you can only tease it so much. I won't say whether she's a character necessarily in movie 2. Chu went on to share, "There's a part of me that wants everyone's Dorothy to be the Dorothy they envision. And yet, there is interaction and some crossover. So I'll leave that up to part 2. Wicked tells the untold story of the Witches of Oz, starring Emmy, Grammy, and Tony-winning Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, a misunderstood young woman with green skin who hasn't discovered her true power, and Grammy-winning multi-platinum artist Ariana Grande as Glinda, a popular girl surrounded by privilege and ambition who's yet to uncover her true heart." The movie also stars Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh as the regal headmistress Madame Morrible at Shiz University, Jonathan Bailey as the roguish Prince Fiero, Tony nominee Ethan Slater as the kind-hearted Munchkin student Bach, Marissa Bode in her feature film debut as Elphaba's favored sister Nessa Rose, and pop culture icon Jeff Goldblum as the legendary Wizard of Oz. Directed by the talented Jon M. Wicked is the first part of a 2-chapter cultural celebration. The sequel, now titled Wicked for Good, originally Wicked Part 2, is set to hit theaters on November 21. However, when Wicked 2 arrives in theaters, there will be one major difference from the first movie that could affect the sequel. The upcoming Wicked for Good is set to be quite different from the first Wicked, which could result in mixed reviews. The first film currently has an impressive 7.8 over 10 on IMDb, 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 73% on Metacritic, with particular praise for the chemistry between Cynthia Erivo's Elphaba and Ariana Grande-Butera's Glinda. While the first half of Wicked showcased most of the characters studying together at Shiz University, the second half shifted focus to Elphaba and Glinda as they ventured to meet the Wizard of Oz. In Wicked for Good, however, after the first film's events, Elphaba, Glinda, and the rest of the characters will be separated. While it's exciting to see the characters further develop in the sequel, it's a bit of a letdown that Elphaba and Glinda will be apart for much of it. At the end of Wicked, Elphaba steals the Grimoire and flies off from the Emerald City while Glinda stays behind. Since the first Wicked movie closely followed Act 1 of the musical, it's likely that Wicked for Good will faithfully adapt the second half, meaning Elphaba and Glinda will be separated for most of the sequel. The shocking twist in Wicked reveals that the wizard and Madame Morrible are true villains, responsible for the cruelty towards animals. This revelation shatters Elphaba and Glinda's views of the world. Elphaba, driven by the urge to rebel, takes action against the wizard and Madame Morrible, while Glinda hesitates. This tension leads to their separation at the end of Wicked. In Act 2 of the musical, Elphaba travels around Oz helping animals and leading a rebellion, while Glinda remains in the Emerald City, believing she can make a difference by working within the system. Their contrasting paths in Wicked for Good will showcase just how different the two characters are. Elphaba and Glinda's relationship is one of the standout elements of Wicked. The first movie spends a lot of time showing how different the two characters are. Glinda is the popular, attention-seeking student, while Elphaba is an outsider who doesn't care for others' opinions. Despite these differences, rather than pursuing them further apart like Wicked for Good will, the first film brings them closer together. Initially, Glinda is horrified to share a room with Elphaba, but over time they form a strong friendship. Their bond deepens as the story progresses, leading Elphaba to invite Glinda to Emerald City to meet the wizard. In the second half of Wicked, watching Elphaba and Glinda together on screen is a joy, as it's clear how much they care for each other. However, their relationship faces a challenge when the true nature of the wizard and Madame Horrible is revealed. In Wicked for Good, Glinda will stick with her approach of working within the system, while Elphaba will continue to rebel and forge her own path. The separation of Elphaba and Glinda in Wicked for Good could potentially hurt the sequel. Their evolving bond was one of the standout aspects of the first movie, and it's going to be disappointing for fans to see them split up. The chemistry between Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande-Butera, especially during their musical numbers together, made some of the best moments in Wicked. While the ending of the first film sets up their separation, there's a risk that Wicked for Good may struggle to maintain the same emotional impact because of this split. While there are other interesting subplots in Wicked, such as the mistreatment of animals and the developing romance between Bach and Nessa Rose, the most memorable moments from the first film revolve around Elphaba and Glinda. Audiences may not be as invested in subplots that don't directly feature these characters. Hopefully, the strong character development in the first movie will allow the supporting characters to shine in the sequel, but it remains to be seen if the lack of Elphaba and Glinda together will affect the movie's reception. Even though Elphaba and Glinda will be separated for most of Wicked for Good, the movie can still work well by focusing on their contrasting worldviews. Elphaba, the misunderstood outcast, stands up for what she believes is right, while Glinda, who is accepted by society, tries to influence change from within Emerald City. Though they may not always agree on methods, their bond remains strong. The separation could even make the scenes with both characters more emotional, as the time apart will amplify their connection when they do share the screen. It's important that the film keeps their deep friendship in mind, even as it explores their individual paths. If Wicked for Good continues to develop Elphaba and Glinda as complex characters, it can still deliver a strong and emotionally resonant story. While it's a bit disappointing that they won't have as many moments together, there's hope that Wicked for Good will still be a compelling and satisfying conclusion to the story. Well, that's it. What are you most excited to see in Wicked for Good? Do you think Elphaba and Glinda's separation will affect the movie's emotional impact, or are you looking forward to seeing their individual journeys? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more updates on all your favorite upcoming films. See you next time!